Record. All right. Hello, welcome to my presentation on microtransit in small cities, more specifically Nolanville, Texas. My name is Wesley Sprott, and I'm a Master of Urban Planning student here at Texas A&M. And I just want to thank again the City of Nolanville, Endeavor, and my 3 committee members for being here and supporting me through this process and help achieve this microtransit in small cities presentation to the best of my ability. So thank y'all again. So to kick us off, a quick table of contents of what we'll be discussing in today's presentation. The paper will look into really the goals of this study and primitive actions of Nolanville and Endeavor Ride in Nolanville. And then we will jump into defining microtransit and looking at some best practices of microtransit throughout the country through case studies. And then we'll look at Nolanville at a deeper depth, looking at the demographics and the transportation needs of the city to assess how microtransit can benefit the city of Nolanville. And then wrapping it up with the meat of this presentation, which is looking at recommended routes and routes through data collection, GIS maps, and potential service zones and transit routes, which I'll explain more when we get to that point in the presentation. And finally, the challenges and benefits of microtransit in Nolanville through Endeavor, through looking at potential obstacles and benefits that microtransit provides to Nolanville. So a small introduction. The topic of transportation is so important to our environment, as it plays a huge role in how the environment we live in is built. The table to the right there shows the mode choice for the entire state of Texas as a whole, to see the how each mode is broken down and how many the percentage of people using each mode. As you can see, mobility in Texas is highly dependent on personal vehicles. As 79% of people in Texas use public or personal vehicles as their primary mode of commute. And all the way there at the bottom, at 1.2%, is public transportation of all sorts. Public transportation is super important in today's world, as it is essentially needed by a lot of underserved communities. It boosts the overall economy of cities and systems, and it can improve the quality of life when transportation is made easier through having accessible modes of transportation for all people. Microtransit has the potential to be easily implemented in affordable form of transportation for small cities all across the US. As I'll dive into deeper, it's often found that microtransit systems are found in big cities and serve just the area. What we'll see in Nolanville and Endeavor is the flexibility and adaptability that microtransit possesses to be able to really serve cities and users to fit their needs rather than just a set system. And the flexibility and accessibility of microtransit is huge. I had the chance of traveling to Nolanville about a month ago to participate in their first trash pickup along Warriors Path Road back in March to provide or just talk with the community, see the community, engage with their staff and their residents to talk about their transportation needs and talk about what microtransit could do for their community. The passionate aspects that pushed me throughout this process was recognizing the good that microtransit could have for Nolanville to serve people with disabilities, homes that are carless, and elderly. Much of the data and support from this report is through Endeavor, which is a nonprofit organization focused on emerging technology to support Nolanville. It offers a microtransit system and has been operating since November of 2020, so about a year and a half it's been operating now. And though it's still in its primitive state, it has made a remarkable impact on the community, though it's only ran by one vehicle and supported by city staff and volunteers and just city funding. With that said, the overarching goal of the study is not just provide understanding of what microtransit is, but to use data and evidence to create a compelling story of why microtransit and Endeavor will transform the transportation network of Nolanville. So what is microtransit? Microtransit is a form of public transportation that lives harmoniously in between elements of public transportation and ride sharing. It offers fixed route options that are similar to a traditional bus system, as well as on-demand door-to-door services that can be requested through either a mobile app, online form, or through phone call. Routes on these on-demand trips can be completely adjustable and dynamic to best suit the user's needs and get them to where they need to go. Microtransit systems are typically run on vans or buses, as seen in the image of this the concept image of the Endeavor Ride van that runs in Nolanville today. And these systems typically operate on demand in what are known as service zone or service areas. And examples of this will be shown through the case studies, as well as in applications of Nolanville when we get to the meat of the presentation. So the 4 case studies we'll be looking at in Nolanville are from Salt Lake County, Utah, Kansas City, Kansas, Arlington, Texas, and Wilson, North Carolina. Each of these case studies bring an interesting aspect and perspective to microtransit that can provide feedback and act as a reference for Endeavor and microtransit in Nolanville. The first case study we'll look at was implemented in November of 2019 by the Utah Transit Authority to implement microtransit in Salt Lake County. As you can see in the image on the bottom, it shows an example of a microtransit service area seen in that kind of light blue, as well as fixed transit routes that their microtransit system provides in their county. So this just shows the dynamic ability of microtransit on an on-demand level and a fixed routing level. This study on Utah Transit Authority's microtransit is focused on riders' perception of microtransit. And what I mean by the rider's perception is understanding the effects that marketing efforts can have on ridership numbers in microtransit. So the study was conducted through in-person interviews during microtransit rides of UTA in 2 rounds of questioning. The first round was very primitive. It was a primitive state of the microtransit system, and they just asked simple questions of how much do they know about the service, how likely they are used to service, and it was found that 11% of the respondents were aware of the service and what it provides. After that first round of questioning, a massive increase in marketing efforts were done, and in the second round of surveys, 59% of the respondents were knowledgeable of the service provided to them. That's almost a 50% increase in awareness just through marketing efforts. So how does this apply to Nolanville? If you take where Endeavor Ride is right now in its primitive state and heighten the marketing efforts, this study shows that you can see heightened ridership and knowledge of the service in the city, which would be very beneficial to really elevate Endeavor in Nolanville. Second case study looks at Ride KC, which is a microtransit system in Kansas City, Kansas, launched in 2019. It was originally a service provided in 2016 that went under, and then was relaunched in 2019, correcting the mistakes seen and really adapting to what the riders in Kansas City needed. And in its first 6 months of operation in 2019, Ride KC serviced more than 12,800 trips, which is a great boost and a great form of transportation in the city of Kansas City. Some strengths from this case study are that they provide clear on-demand requesting through either a mobile app, phone, or online service, similar to that of Endeavor Ride. Their website provides user-friendly and maps and fixed schedules for routes for people that want to use traditional routing similar to bus services. It's very cost-effective, only $1.50 per ride, paid either through app or cash as they onboard the ride, or if they own a city's bus pass, that can be used as well. And their greatest strength is their ability to adapt through trial and error over the years and listen to the users and riders of what they want in microtransit and public transportation in the city. And I think that's something that can be really implemented in Nolanville, is listening to what these people have needed and what will get them to use the service and how can it best serve the people, because that's what it's all about. This is an example I wanted to show of the routes, the fixed route, as well as the scheduling of the fixed route, to show what that could potentially look like if implemented in Nolanville. The third case study is an interesting form of microtransit that I think really resonates with Nolanville. In Arlington, Texas, they launched a microtransit system that provides rides home to discharged hospital patients. Service highlights of this include door-to-door services to get people from the hospital to their homes with wheelchair accessibility, so they can ease that transition of getting from the hospital to their homes after they're discharged. They can bring on a family member or personal care assistant to join the discharged patient on their ride to ease getting in and out of the vehicle and into their homes, as well as an emphasis on health and safety of all riders through limiting the vehicle capacity, adding protective screens and regular cleaning to avoid spread of COVID or any viruses as the years go on. The goal of this service was to ease that final step of the patient's hospital experience and improve the equity and health of the city's transportation system. This applies to Nolanville because, as you'll see in the data coming up in the presentation, a vast majority of trips logged by Endeavor to use for this study are trips made to hospitals throughout the region. So being able to partner with hospitals could greatly benefit Endeavor, and using that to their advantage to make rides and everything as best suited for the citizens of Nolanville as possible. Finally, is an interesting case study that's conducted in Wilson, North Carolina, which is called RIDE. This takes a closer look at a case study from a smaller city, which isn't very common in microtransit, as most operate within large cities to handle the transportation of large populations, where this looks at it from the similar perspective as Endeavor, in that they want to serve underserved populations and help the equity of their city. The service zone in Wilson is similar to that of what will be shown for Nolanville, as it encompasses the entire city boundary. Similar to Nolanville, where most in big cities, it just grabs a portion because they want to do, the size of the service areas are usually limited, but when small cities like this are able to just serve the entire city, which is, I think, a great aspect of microtransit. So some demographics of Nolanville, in addition to answering why microtransit in Nolanville. So Nolanville is located about 60 miles north of Austin. Here on this map on the right, you can see the star. It's located in Bell County. It encompasses only about 4.3 square miles of land coverage, and it has a population of around 6,497 as of this year, 2022. The average age in the city is about 29 years old, and racially is made up of 75% white, 16% Black, and 9% other. 14.2% of the population live below the poverty line, which is 2% higher than the national average, making it a high candidate for public transportation needs. So going into the transportation needs of Nolanville, as of 2020, the transportation network is dominated by personal vehicles for their mode of commute to work. As you can see, there are no other modes of commute in terms of public transportation, walking, or bicycling as people use to get to work. Since Endeavor has been implemented in Nolanville, it has been the sole alternative mode of transportation to serve underserved residents that otherwise couldn't afford or didn't have the luxury of being able to freely move without the region. And that's what this service is all about, is creating a more equitable and accessible service to underserved communities. So this is the meat of the presentation, where we'll look at the research and case studies and Endeavor data to really bring it all together to create a compelling story. The items found in this analysis include the creation of an origin destination map using the trip log conducted by Nolanville City staff of driver generated data when a trip was made using Endeavor. It also includes mapping common destinations in the region, as well as areas in Nolanville with high population density of residents that would benefit from microtransit, so that we can make a fixed route that touches each of the places in Nolanville of opportunity, as well as being able to take these people to common destinations that Nolanville residents commonly use. And through that, we'll show the potential fixed transit route, as well as the service zone and buffer, which is more, it's more unique to Nolanville, and I'll explain that when we get there. So the map on the left shows numbered blocks that represent the location of the origin trips logged by the Endeavor program. A grid system was set in place to protect the addresses of Endeavor users at 500 by 500 feet increments. The table on the right shows the number of trips per month that were made from each of these origin blocks. So the block that had the most trips was block 4 with 128 total trips during the period, which is from August 28, 2021 to March 3rd, 2022. So all this data is collected from about 6 months worth of trip data. And all of this was done with only one vehicle. So the impact of multiple vehicles could really impact this number, and really getting more resources and stuff to heighten this program. So now what we see here is the origin destination links map, which it's a little hard to read, but it's really just showing from each of those block points in the origin map before, and where they were going, and linking them and seeing how many trips per month were made where. To provide a little more insight, I provided a closer look image map seen here to give more perspective of what's going on here. So trips that are lighter, thinner in width, are less trips were taken there, and the thicker ones were common trips, such as like hospital trips and grocery stores, more essentials trips. So looking at this table, the most common destinations are healthcare trips by a long shot. About 41 trips per month were made just to healthcare services versus the 6, 3, 2, and 1 to grocery store, retail services, and other trips made. From this analysis, we can conclude that transportation to and from healthcare needs to be the focus point of Endeavor in going forward with serving Nolanville citizens. This table also gives us an idea of where citizens needing microtransit are going and what type of trips they're making. This can really relate back to the Arlington case study of them solely making trips from hospitals to their homes, and Nolanville can kind of implement that to make that be a focus point of their Endeavor service. So this map here shows a lot of the common destinations in the entire region, from Killeen, seen in red, and Harker Heights in purple, and green is Nolanville. As you can see, most of the destinations for people just that live in this region as a whole are not in Nolanville. A lot of them are in Harker Heights, where they need to go to either medical or HEB, Target, Walmart, those essential trips to get the things they need in their homes. So that's important to note, that citizens from Nolanville are having to go outside of the city to get their essentials. I also wanted to point out the focus areas that would most likely benefit from microtransit, and those can be seen in orange. Their trailer home neighborhoods, as well as the retirement center found in Nolanville. And these are the types of communities that would most greatly benefit from a new form of transportation services to allow access to these people and be able to freely travel. So what we see here is the potential fixed transit route proposed for Nolanville and Endeavor. It touches all of the focus areas, as well as being able to drop off people at local destinations that are commonly gone to by Nolanville residents. So this is an important map to look at, as it shows what a service zone for Nolanville can look like, as well as the buffer. And this is really unique to Nolanville, as it amplifies the accessibility and flexibility that microtransit offers to be able to be unique to Nolanville. The service zone encompasses, the service zone seen in here in the kind of the navy dark blue was made creating the city limits as well as the ETJ of Nolanville to signify that the service is provided to anyone that lives with a Nolanville address. The buffer is a 20-mile road network buffer, which essentially allows drivers to take any rides up to 20 miles from the destination of their trip in the service area to their destinations. This buffer mileage of 20 miles was set by Endeavor, and from the links map, the farthest trip that was logged in that 20-mile period was this trip out here, which is about 18 miles. So that's where the 20-mile radius came from. And this map really shows the flexibility of microtransit and how it can be used to best benefit Nolanville's needs for public transportation. And it's a really honest display of what microtransit in Nolanville from an on-demand perspective can look like through a service zone, as well as looking at the transit routes developed by data from Endeavor to further understand the needs of Nolanville's underserved residents and how microtransit can benefit them. So an important aspect to look at when studying microtransit is you got to understand, or not even microtransit, for any implementing new form of transportation to an area, there are going to be challenges and obstacles that need to be addressed. The good news for Nolanville is that the city and residents have been very supportive in the addition of microtransit to provide rides. Through my trip to Nolanville, where I did a trash pickup with the city and talked with city staff as well as residents, all of them seemed very supportive of microtransit in their city and saw the potential that it has to really benefit the community. With that being said, the two primary challenges identified in the study include marketing efforts and finding funding sources to really heighten the potential that Endeavor and microtransit could have in Nolanville. For marketing, microtransit can be leveraged through looking at the benefits that comes with it, through accessibility, increased mobility, being able to notice a service that serves underserved communities. And Endeavor has already done some marketing efforts, as you can see in the image below. Some volunteers went around handing out flyers and placing flyers on a resident's door to notify them of the service and hope for a stronger impact and heighten the ridership. Other marketing efforts can be through Facebook posts, newspaper ads, and simple flyers. Also, word of mouth can be very effective in Nolanville, as it is a small knit community and things can get spread around really fast due to that, the smallness of the entire population. So word of mouth can be a great way to notify people of Endeavor. The second challenge will be the funding challenge, which I'm not an expert in funding options, but I did do some research, and it is found that monetary backing to acquire and utilize necessary resources for microtransit is important. Endeavor has started and has seen enormous impact on the community through just one, only through city staff, one vehicle, volunteer hours, and only city funds to run the service. I looked into some potential grants through the Federal Transit Administration to look at some grant opportunities, and some of the ones that I've found that could apply to Endeavor was enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities, enhancing mobility and innovation, helping obtain prosperity for everyone program, integrated mobility innovation, and mobility on demand sandbox demonstration program. And so each of these had their own aspects and how they can be applied to microtransit in Nolanville due to what those grants are meant to relieve and the needs of Nolanville. To wrap it up, looking at the benefits of Nolanville, I thought this graphic did a great job of, on the right, showed the benefits of really connecting the dots of using microtransit to use the benefits of each private vehicles as well as buses and traditional services through direct door-to-door service and more comfortableness of microtransit than it is of buses. And then the inexpensive, no parking, accessibility of buses is also a form of microtransit. The four main benefits that stood out that help microtransit stand out from other modes include its cost effectiveness, accessibility to allow mobility for elderly, disabled, or citizens without vehicle access, increased mobility to provide underserved communities with a service to improve their mobility, and as well as a flexibility of doing either door-to-door service or with adjustable routes or fixed scheduling routing. Ultimately, this is what microtransit in Nolanville has the potential to be, and I think it would be a great, great opportunity for microtransit to be elevated and Endeavor to be flourished. And I've been super grateful being able to look into this and help Nolanville and Endeavor in any way that I can. All the hours I've put in on this. And it's really exciting to see the difference that it can make in a community, as well as I think it's been amazing to see the community backing. And I'm excited to share with them and be able to provide all of this to them to really make Endeavor the best possible thing it can be for the city of Nolanville. I just want to thank you all again for the opportunity and experience to conduct this research. This is a fun little picture from the trash cleanup of everyone that was there. And it's just, I think that picture really signifies the type of community that Nolanville has, and the lightheartedness and the close-knit community, and how everyone's there to make everyone's world a better place. And they have a great city staff. And I think that microtransit could be a very beneficial elevated system for the city. So thank you all again for the time, and I look forward to it. Thanks.